Now we're going to follow the steps in the handout for the curtain wall. To place a curtain wall, I click on my wall tool, and instead of using a basic wall, I'll click and scroll all the way down to the bottom. We're going to use curtain wall 1 as the start point. So I click on curtain wall 1. Before we draw, let's adjust the base and top constraints. So the base is second floor with a base offset of 0. The top is going to go up to the T-bar ceiling level with a top offset of -1 foot, -1. And that gives us -1 foot. And then on the side of the drawing over here, I'm just going to click and I'll draw it, let's say 12 foot long. I'll click a second time. If I switch to 3D and have a look at that, let's orbit and find it. That is my curtain wall. So that's the first step of placing curtain walls. The first part of the workflow is placing the curtain wall. I'm going to switch to a shaded view so you can see that piece of glass. Now we want to divide that piece of glass using curtain grids. So I click my curtain grid tool. To create vertical ones, I move my cursor along the bottom edge or the top edge to place vertical ones. Horizontal ones, I can move my cursor on the left side or on the right side. I'll press escape after selecting or after creating. Now if I want to move them up or down, I could select and change this number above it to something like 2 foot, and that will give me a different distance. I'm going to try that on the sides. I'm going to take this and make it 3 foot. I'll make this one just a different number. I'll say 2 foot 6. 2.5. Enter will give me 2 foot 6. Now the curtain grids, when we place them, I don't want this one to be continuous all the way through, so I'm going to select it. And I'll hit this Add Remove Segments button right here. I click on the segment I want to remove, and then I click on empty space. And now that segment is no longer continuous all the way across. If I wanted to do that while placing them, I hit my curtain grid button. I could go for one segment when placing it. That would allow me to just click on the segment where I want it, and then I press escape to come out of that command. So that's the second part of the workflow, adding curtain grids. The third part is to add the mullions, which are basically the frames around. So to add the mullions, I hit my mullion button right here. And if I click, it puts a frame all the way along that curtain grid. I can click my grids one by one, or I can add them to a single grid segment at a time. 1, 2, 3. Or I could add them to all curtain grids with a single click. So now I have all the mullions added to my curtain wall. The last step in this workflow may be to switch out one of these panels for a door. So let's give that a try. So I'm going to select this piece of glass. This is the tricky part. I can go to the edge and tab, click, and now I've selected my glazed system panel. That can be a little tricky. I could also do a crossing from right to left just below here, and then filter, take out my curtain wall mullion and my wall. That would leave me just with my curtain panel. So I want to try to isolate that element. And I'll see if I've already loaded in a type that we can use here. I have a single curtain wall glass door, which would look a little odd with this size. So what I could do instead is edit type and load a family. I didn't give you this family today, so we'll have to find it. You'll have a shortcut at the bottom for your Imperial Library. So I can go to Imperial Library, Doors, and then I'm looking for any door that has the word curtain wall in it. So this one is door, curtain wall, double storefront. I can open that up. And now it's been selected. I press OK, and now I have a curtain wall door in the middle of it. The one problem at the bottom here is a bit of a mullion to trip over as your people enter your suite. That wouldn't be very nice for them. So let's just select that mullion by clicking on it and hit delete on your keyboard or delete button up here, and the door will automatically extend to fill that space. If you want to change the size of that door, it can get very tricky. Let's look at it in plan. So that's my curtain wall in plan. If I take this frame right here and try to move it, I have no luck at all. The frame's not going to move. If I take this door, there's no option under edit type or width. It just automatically fills the space. What I must do is select the curtain wall grid. And if I change this distance to the curtain wall grid, say to 2 foot 9, 2 space 9, enter, the door will get smaller. Let me just exaggerate that. 3 foot 6. And now the door gets smaller. So as the curtain wall changes and you move the grids around, all the panels and doors within them adjust to fit the space. something a little bit more advanced. If I take this one, I just selected it, press the spacebar to flip the exterior side. Now, what I'd like to do maybe is have a curved shape at the top of this. Don't worry if this doesn't work out. This is a little bit beyond how far I'd like it to be now. But I could take this and I could click Edit Profile. Let me show that on a normal wall to begin with. If I were to create a generic wall over here on the side, with this generic wall, I can select it and go Edit Profile. And now it's a sketch, kind of like our floor sketch that we looked at in the last class. And I could just draw two curves across the top, trim to corner, here and here, and then delete this edge at the top. When I hit Finish, I now have a wall that's shaped like that. I'm just going to go back to hidden lines so it's a bit easier to see that. The Edit Profile is very powerful. I can go back into Edit Profile afterwards and create a loop within that loop. Let's say this one here and the second one beside it. And what that would do is create two openings in that wall. So I end up with some holes in my wall. If I realize that I've gotten carried away, I just select it, reset the profile, and it goes back to normal. I'll delete that wall. With this wall over here, I'm going to do the same thing. A single click to try and select the entire curtain wall. I go to the edge and click it. It's very easy to do a selection where you get one of the mullions, panels, grids, etc. So just try to get the entire curtain wall with a single click. And now I click Edit Profile. I'm going to draw a curve just here, and then coming down the other side. And there we go. I have to make a closed loop just like our floors. So I'll trim to corner, click on the piece I want to keep, click on the piece I want to keep. And then I must delete this extra line up here. And now when I'm finished, it's going to delete these mullions along the top. But I don't need those anymore, so I'll just say yes, delete elements. And then I can hit my mullion button and add a mullion across the top. And now I have a piece of interior glazing with a curve on it. Let's switch back to the ground floor plan. I don't need this anymore. That was just a practice. So I'm going to delete that one and come back over here to my plan. So I'd like to create a piece of curtain wall 4 foot wide beside this door. So let's hit the wall button and switch to a curtain wall. This time we're going to use a different type. This one is called Storefront 4.5 inches. This one already has some preset preferences. It's going to start on the second floor at 0. I'm going to make it unconnected, 7 space 2, 7 foot 2 high. And then I just click anywhere I want, come straight down, and type 4, enter. Oh, we're supposed to go straight down. Let me just fix that to 90 degrees. So I have a 4 foot long one. You see how this automatically has a mullion each side? That's because this curtain wall type has been preset to have a border type of this on each vertical side. It's set for none in the middle, and then horizontal at the top and bottom. It's got the same kind of border. So if I look at that in 3D, see how it already has a mullion on every side? It's already created that for me. I can plan. I can take this and I click Move. I snap to the endpoint and I snap to this midpoint. Notice that I can't actually move up here. It's just going horizontal like Ortho and AutoCAD. I would just uncheck the button here for constrain, and then I can click on the midpoint. It automatically cuts a hole in the wall for us, which is really nice. And then I take this, unpin it, and delete it to avoid having that double mullion on that side. And that's it. I want to have that same piece of curtain wall into these 3 rooms. So I would select and copy that, and then rotate it for the new location. Type 90, enter, and then move it into place. So snap. And now that my constraint is turned off, I'll have no problems getting that into place. Then copy that again, rotate it again. Oh, rotate it enough. Another 180. And then I'll move it into place. And then I'll copy it one more time. CO is the keyboard shortcut. Over here, and then I'll rotate it 90, and I'll move that into place. So that's how you could do interior glazing using curtain walls instead of windows. It gives you a lot more design freedom when you're creating it. You could easily switch, adding mullions or edit profile for this shape. It's very, very easy for you to switch this around, whereas a window is a little bit more constrained on what you can do on it. So that's it for curtain walls. The next practice, we're going to look at placing components.